Hey, welcome back to that 70s Card Show. My name is John Keating, and I thank you for joining me as I take a look back at the cards and the culture of the very colorful 1970s. We'll revisit a more simple time in our hobby by taking a deep dive into the sets and the stats with a generous amount of dad facts sprinkled in. That 70s Card Show is currently sponsored by nobody. If you have a comment or suggestion, I urge you to drop me a line at that 70s Card Show at gmail.com, 70s Card on Twitter, or that 70s Card Show on the YouTube. This is episode 72, and we are continuing here in our mini series, our 70s mini series on collectors that I admire, respect, and appreciate. And we're going to bring on here my old pal, Chris, from All Time Sports Cards. And Chris has kind of been in hiding for a little bit. I think I flushed him out. I'm like the Delta Force, and he's like Saddam. I got him out of the spider hole in the ground in the desert. What's going on, Chris?
By the way, that's the first time I've ever been compared to Saddam. So thank you for that, I guess.
Well, a beardless Saddam, I should say.
All right.
I apologize.
All right. Fair enough.
So Chris, you win, of course, today for wearing a Virginia Tech hat. Chris and I love sports cards, but more importantly, our sons are both juniors at Virginia Tech right now. So in the future, if you're in a building and you're looking up wondering if the roof is going to stay up, just be careful because maybe a couple of Hokies designed that building, right?
Oh boy, that's right.
Yeah. How's it going, Chris?
It's going great. It's going great. Just happy to be on the show. Thanks for pulling me out of my dark hole.
Anytime, man. And by the way, you pay half the tuition I pay, and you live 2/3 closer than I do. So for that, I'm jealous, but I can't do anything about that. What set are we going to talk about today, Chris?
So today I'm super excited to talk about the 1971 Topps baseball set, and it's the base set. I know you just had a prior call or podcast with someone that covered the super set. We're going to cover the base 752 card set, which is a lot of fun.
It's a monster. So why did you choose this set? I have a feeling I know why, but I'm going to keep it sealed in an envelope until you tell me.
So there's a little bit of history there. I'm going to go back. Bear with me; it won't take too long. But I'm going to go back to my adolescent days when I was heavy into collecting as a child. So 1984-ish, 85-ish. I was about 12 years old, and I had a friend with an older brother who didn't want his baseball cards, and the cards that got divvied out among a couple of us card collectors in the community in our local town included 1970, 71, and 72 Topps baseball. And my eyes were immediately drawn to the 71 Topps, the black borders. Everybody knows about that. We'll talk more, obviously, in detail. But one of the cards I picked out was a Willie Mays. So it was a very off-centered, beat-up-looking Willie Mays, but I didn't care. I loved it. I'm mesmerized by it. I'm like, wow, this is the legend Willie Mays. And you have to remember in that time period, I'm sure you can relate to this as well, John. Maybe some of your other fellow collectors have said this, but even back in the mid 80s, any card from the early 70s might as well have been like 52 Topps, right? It was just like almost like untouchable. Like, how do these things even exist, right? So I've always had that vintage bug. And that 71 Mays card I still have to this day. But that was the foundation for why I years later wanted to target collecting that set. So fast forward to about 2009, 2010-ish, and I was at a card show, a regional card show, and I saw a partial set, almost complete set sitting on one of the dealer tables for a very good price. And back in 2010, a lot of things were a very good price.
Right.
And it was mid-grade to high-grade enough that I could use it as a foundation to try to complete it. So right then and there, I just decided on the spot, hey, I'm gonna take this binder home with me, and I'm gonna build it, and we'll see how long it takes. And it took a long time, really, to get it to where I wanted it to be.
Yeah, it's a big set, not as big as its baby brother 72, but boy, it's a bigger set. And
yeah,
going back to what drew your eyes to the set to begin with, it really was like on any other set that came before it, the black, right? It was just such a contrast, the pictures as well as player's name and the team name and all that stuff.
That's right. I mean, there was so much about it, right? And when we could talk about the features of the set, but just some of the action shots, the in-game action shots for the first time, very innovative. What Topps did, um, just how and when the black borders are actually crisp and doesn't show a lot of white and not creased or corner dings. It's a very beautiful looking set that presents very well. So it's a lot of fun to collect that way too, and the challenge that comes with it.
Yeah, I like to say that over my shoulder here, I have a '71 Yaz, and I've had my Yaz, most of my Yaz's, most of my collecting life, and I took that thing out of a screw down last year, sent it to SGC, and it came back a 7, and I think that that's the biggest miracle my collection has ever seen, right? A 1971, how condition sensitive it was, and being in a screw down for 35 years, and it getting a 7 is crazy because those are tough. If you're into the grading game, those are a tough thing to uh, get in anything other than anything above a 5. I would think, right?
I agree. I completely agree. And I haven't attempted it a whole lot yet. And I say
Right.
yet because I'm sitting on a lot of ungraded cards as part of that set. Part of my strategy has really been to kind of wait to grade a few. I do have a few graded, which I can possibly show today, but very select few, and
Right.
just kind of randomly over time, I just had purchased them. But I like having this set ungraded. It's really fun to look at.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and there's the contrast between the front and the back with the greenbacks, that '70s green that Tops loved, and I guess they bought their ink at Costco or whatever because they used it a lot in the '70s. These cards, you mentioned one thing, and I'm going to bring something up on screen here, and of course that's that card, right? You are originally from the New York area,
I am.
New Amsterdam, up there as the uh, Dutch used to call it, and Thurman has to be right up there in players you appreciate and admire as a kid, right?
No question about it. And this card, by the way, we didn't talk about this, but this card is my favorite card of the entire decade.
That's why I thought you chose '71. That's in my envelope,
Yeah.
Chris. That's the secret answer there.
But it's the first time I remember crying because of baseball is when I heard the news of Thurman's death in
Uh huh.
1979. And that hit me hard. But I was young then too. I didn't really even know what was going on, but I knew that we lost a good one, and
Yep.
I think his legend still grows to this day. I think there's more that we can say about Thurman over time, and Hall of Fame discussion or not, whatever we want to say about that, I think he deserves at least some consideration.
I'm
Now here's
getting I'm getting to know Thurman real well right now. I'm reading Dan Epstein's book, and
now
it's
here's a question for you. Do you
yeah.
know who that runner is sliding into home plate?
I'm going to say I there was a time where I probably knew that within the past year that I forgot. I'm either going to say Joe Rudy or Dick Green, and I'm probably wrong.
You are wrong, but
Okay.
still good guesses. It's actually a pitcher. If I tell you it's a pitcher, do you want to guess again?
It's not Holtzman.
No,
It's not Catfish.
it's Chuck Dobson.
Oh, okay. Chuck Dobson, I think I remember as an Indian, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But so, yeah, and there's another card in '73, the Pat Corrales one that has Fergie Jenkins coming in
Yeah.
at him too, an action shot, which is neat. But now I know that. No, maybe I'm thinking of Pat Dobson, who was an Oriole, right? So Chuck Dobson's coming in. That regardless of your whether you have an affinity for Thurman Munson or not, it's the card is nearly perfect, right? It's a landscape shot, which I love. There's people that don't like them. I love them. It's got the rookie trophy, and it is, as we all know, the first uh, action shot card Tops put out, other than playoff series recaps and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And the rookie trophies is a fun reminder that even though this is a second year card, and back then you're aware, of course, the Tops often did their rookie cup rookie trophy cards often as their second year card. It
right,
just depended on the player.
right.
But I mean, obviously in Eddie Murray's case in '78, that was his rookie. But in this case with Munson, '70 is his rookie card. And this is one of those rare cases where a second year player card is worth more than their rookie.
Yeah, it's a solo card, right? Which is a big
Mhm.
one. But in the '71, I like the '70 set. Don't get me wrong, but the '71 just, it's the class of the '70s probably. And People forget, and I bring this up every now and then, how hard it is to, or was to shoot baseball players in action.
That's
Obviously, it's a
right.
day game. Players are in motion. You have to get the light right, the speed of the film right, all that stuff. So,
Well, and let's face it, tops back then. Let's not give them too much credit. They
right,
had some pretty horrible photography in a lot of cases, and with a lot of shots. Right,
right.
it almost seemed like some of the in some cases, some of the photographers weren't. Maybe they snuck in the stadium and didn't have the proper credentials. They had to sneak in a few shots. Right, so
Yeah, yeah. They weren't the only ones. There was SSPC did that later
that's
on.
that's another one. By the way,
Yeah,
you should do, if you haven't done one in a while. You maybe that'd be
yeah.
another great set to talk about.
Hey, so I'm going to bring up a couple action shots while we're there. Of course,
Yeah.
we have Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan's card, other than being Nolan Ryan, it's also famous for the product placement, right? Royal Crown RC,
Yep.
and then Bud Harrelson. Bud Harrelson's card, there's 5 players there, right? 3 Mets. I don't know who that is. Maybe a Giant and an umpire, and of course, Nolan Ryan is in there as well. So
Yeah.
that's a fun card when
It's
it
a
comes
cheap.
to.
I'll argue a cheap way to get a Nolan Ryan card, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
exactly. True. True.
Same,
Yeah.
same with this one. I was going to show this one as well. This is got, since we were just talking about
Oh,
Munson.
it's beautiful. That's Munson again, right?
Yeah, it's Veda Pinson with Thurman there, right?
Yep. Look
Ah,
at
look
that
at
right
you.
there.
Look
So
at you.
yeah, that's a cheap way to get a Thurman card, right? Second year Thurman card, and then the Joe Morgan one too, because it's full umpire.
Yeah.
Shea Stadium, stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff, as we know, was shot at Shea Stadium, but there are some exceptions to that. But Shea in New York were
Yeah.
obviously photographer based for tops because it costs money to send them anywhere else. But there's
Yeah.
some Connie Mack stuff in there, Connie Mack Stadium, I should say. There's some Dodger Stadium stuff and other
And
stadiums sprinkled around.
and even maybe perhaps more importantly for the world champion 71 Pirates, a lot of the players, including Clemente, were shot at the brand new, newly minted Three Rivers Stadium from the year before. So that they opened that stadium in July of 1970. So you do get a lot of Pirates, which obviously are the most collected team of the 1971 set for
Right.
Pirates fans out there, right?
So I just brought up a card that I love. Is the Reggie Jackson,
Yeah.
3rd year Reggie, for many reasons. 2 bats, the biceps, the whole thing. You don't mess with Reggie Jackson. This is pre glasses, pre mustache, but also Manny Sanguian card there as well, which I believe is Three Rivers, right? You have
Yep.
the
Sure is.
pullover shirts, and we have Manny Sanguian. Have no idea what Manny Sanguian's doing there. Is he pretending to chart pitches? Do you think, or signing autographs? What's his deal?
It could be. Could
Could
be.
be
Either one. Good
either
guess.
one. So that's the Pirates thing. As you say, that's Three Rivers. That's AstroTurf. It's got everything going on. It might be one of the first AstroTurf shots as
Yeah.
well for Topps cards, right?
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to talk about was talk about real quick, if you don't mind, uh, these playoff cards, right? Because you get
Yeah.
kind of a yellow tone for the AL cards, and you have a pink tone for the NL cards, and then full blown color for the World Series card, which is
Yeah,
kind of cool.
it was great. I mean, perfectly done by Topps. Great artistic license used there. I think it's almost like a sepia tone.
Yep.
Um, with the AL and NL playoffs, you
Yeah.
get action shots there, and then, like you said, full blown color for the World Champion or for the World Series celebration cards and the games of the World Series. So, do you happen to have the famous Desert Brooksy there?
Shoot, I don't. I have it behind me,
Yeah.
but you're right. That is one of my favorite. Let me get you on the screen here, Chris. Hold on a sec, because that is one of my favorite. Oh, get rid of that. Stand by. Hold that as long as you can.
So this is what I'm talking about,
Yep.
the Topps photography. I don't know if we had a zoom lens where he was, there in the upper deck, the
Yeah.
photographer taking this shot of Brooks, but he looks like he is. I'm trying to do what John Keating might say in this situation, and maybe he's doubled over from heat exhaustion, climbing the hills of, in the Sahara Desert in the dunes, and that's what it looks like to me. So
Or a litter box. Either
yeah,
that or he's in a litter box.
or
But
litter.
that's obviously Memorial Stadium right there, right?
But hey, if I'm a TTMer, which I'm not, a TTMer is somebody who sends autograph requests through the mail to former players.
Right.
Um, this would be the card to
Oh,
send.
for
'Cause
sure.
Brooks would have all kinds of real estate to work with to sign his
Yeah.
name here.
especially since, I mean, he's got a long enough name too. He could fit it all in there, whether he
Yeah.
goes diagonal or what. So
Right.
yeah, that's an incredible card. Um, Love that card, and I'm bummed that I didn't put it in the graphics, but
I got you covered, man.
you got me covered. I have, like I said, I have the binder behind me, but boy, grabbing the binder and bringing it over, I finished that. When did you finish this set, by the way, Chris?
Great question. So I mentioned I started it around 2009, 2010 ish, and technically I finished it by getting all the cards in the set by probably, I don't know, 2013, 14. But the biggest headache, if you will, and it was fun. I say this all in good fun. Is collecting is my standards kept getting higher for upgrading condition of cards. So
Right.
it was a constant evolutionary process to upgrade the condition on the cards, so that the full set in all of its glory, I could feel it was presented in the way I wanted to see it when I'm flipping page by page in a binder, right?
Yeah. I looked at my binder this morning and I'm a little disappointed in myself because you think you're done and then you're like, wow, man,
Right.
I could really do better right there,
Right.
right?
So to fully answer your question, I probably bought my last 71 tops card where I said, okay, enough is enough. I'm good. Probably in 2021.
What was that card? Do you remember?
I don't. I don't
Okay.
remember because I've just bought so many over the years. So now, what the byproduct of all this is, I have, and this is a borderline hoarder's mentality, but I'm also a collector. So most of you out there may appreciate this. The byproduct is I have a lot of nice mid to high grade 71 tops extras and a lot
Okay.
of dupes,
Right.
and that's not a bad set to have a lot of duplicate cards of.
I have a box behind me. Same thing. And I should probably look at those compared to the ones in my binder, but I have a box of probably about 126 cards that I'm trying to sell that are, it's amazing when you look at how sharp they are because Chris, I'm still a 10-year-old kid who has to restrain myself from writing on my cards to check the checklist on cards and stuff like that. So that's part of my evolution. But I look at those cards and I don't know what I would have done with a sharp 71 card back in the 80s because it's such an alien concept. But as I collected or as I tried to build out this set, obviously as you're building the set out, your tastes change. You know, if you're going to pay $8 for a common, you're going to make sure you get the best common you can, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And
And the $8 commons can happen quickly in the semi high and high number series.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and another thing about this set that as I was completing it, I ran into a couple people that were kind enough, a couple dealers. I remember this one couple at the Philly show where she was checking all the sides of the cards to make sure none of them had Sharpie, had been touched up by
Yes,
Sharpies and stuff like that, which
excellent.
I thought was a wonderful gesture on her part. Husband and wife team. It really it meant a lot to me because that's you know cards don't lie. That cardboard soaks up that black ink, and you can see it if you're looking from the sides, right?
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because for those that are interested in collecting more from 1971, that's one of the big things to look out for when you're buying ungraded raw cards is to make sure that they don't have the black Sharpie marks on them, and because sometimes they're really hard to see. You have to
Yeah,
sometimes have the right lighting and know where to look.
yeah. I want to say the last one I got was the Dusty Baker Don Baylor for some reason, which is
Okay.
a high number rookie and
Yep.
tough one to get. And that
It
may have
is.
been. I remember that I was closing that up and I was closing that set out and the lady said, "Well, hold on, let me look at that," and she grabbed me another one instead, which was great. So
Nice.
I would have been stuck with a sharpied up rookie, but there's some bangers in this set. We talk, people like to tell me that the '70s didn't have any, landmark cards, but there are some bangers in this set for sure. The Clemente and the Maze, right?
Yep.
And they're both high numbers, I think, in
So
600 and
Clemente and Mays are considered semi-high numbers. The high number series starts at card number 644,
okay,
and the semi-highs are in the 500s and 600s. So Clemente is number 630, Mays is number 600, and those are both considered semi-high number cards. But definitely because it's the combination of somewhat short printed semi-high numbers and tier one top tier Hall of Fame players.
Right.
highly collectible. Those are for sure two of the most expensive cards in the set, combined with obviously like Munson and Ryan and Rose and Reggie and a few others. But here's my Clemente.
I was going to say, do you have the Clemente?
Yeah.
Because that is, I'm an advocate of Roberto Clemente just making beautiful cards, and that
Yeah.
is a beautiful card. What is that? A 7?
It's a 7.
Holy mackerel! Crazy, man.
Yeah.
Because that's almost a half a G. I don't know what you paid for that, but that's a pretty expensive card.
If I told you what I paid, well, I don't normally say that.
You don't
I
have
can
to. I'm just
I
saying,
can
like,
tell you. I can tell you. I paid $120 for it, but that was
good
in
for you.
2008. That was
Good
in
for you.
2008.
Yeah, I mean, because Beckett will tell you. I mean, Beckett is not a you know, it's a guide, of course, but I mean, that's
Yeah,
the most expensive card in the set, and it's like I said, they list that as a half a grand, but at a 7, I'm sure it's way more than that. I had a Nolan Ryan 7 at one point, and I sold that when I bought a collection that had a raw one, so I kept the raw one and sold the other one. So
right.
that same thing, I bought that probably in the 90s actually for maybe $60. Yep,
So
there you go.
this is my Ryan. Sorry for the glare.
It's amazing how we as hobbyists, and we're not alone, but a lot of the hobby collects Nolan Ryan, and his cards are at a place where he was completely almost unfamous, whatever
Yeah.
you know what I mean. He was just a
Yeah.
role player on a team, and those are the cards that are
Well, Ryan is also tough because a lot of his earlier cards, not his rookie, but 69, 70, 71, 72, were either in the semi-high or high number series
right.
from Tops.
He was an
So,
afterthought, right? For
yeah,
for tops for sure, he was an afterthought.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and then I want to talk about our boy Cooter pointed out in episode 70 the other day about. Let me see here if I could bring this up. Promise it's coming. There we go. About this guy right here.
Love it. Love it.
So Richie Allen, right? I mean, that's a great shot. It's Dodger Stadium, which is a bird for
Yeah.
for that set. And this
Yeah.
shot was used, or this shoot was used in a lot of cards, both regionally and I think it's in the OPG card as well. But we see a mustache, right?
Yeah.
Essentially the first tops card with a mustache. We don't know whether the supers came out before the regular series, but this is a guy with a mustache, and you can see old Dick Allen on the back without the mustache from the year
Exactly.
before.
That's a great call and a good
Yeah,
catch. And by the way, this is a short print high number card, which is really hard to get. This card has shot up in value, amazing how much it has gone up in value just over the last few years. Because what you're finding is that this card is very hard to get centered,
right.
more so than a lot of others. And you combine that with it being a borderline, probably should be Hall of Famer,
Mm-hmm.
right? In Dick Allen. It's a high number series card, and it's just a great look at the card. It's just an awesome looking card, swinging the bat in front of the dugout, and like you said, Dodger Stadium, which is rare to have a Dodger Stadium card in the background like that.
Yeah,
Um,
and in a photographer's left knee, I suppose, right? Is that what I'm seeing at the bottom there?
yeah, probably. Again, another great, brilliant move by Tops.
Yeah,
But the other thing I'll say, just your thought about the mustache, great call out there. What I'll say to that is, I first learned that about a year ago when one of my other favorite YouTubers, a guy named Keith from Vintage Card Curator,
mm-hmm.
um, did a feature on that and mentioned, yeah, facial hair, and that there was one of the first times or first time in like 60 years since the tobacco era,
Right, right.
where there was facial hair on a player on a card. So I thought
Yeah,
that was great.
it's amazing, isn't it? And Dick Allen, or Rich Allen, as it says here, he changed teams a bunch of times around that period. So it's obviously a nice shot, and that is top 10 card. I mean, he's up there with inner circle guys like Aaron and Jackson and Ryan and Mays and Clemente, and then we also have Ted Simmons rookie card, which I did not bring up, but that really shot in the last. That's a pandemic, really a pandemic all star card right there, right?
It
Uh,
is. I'll see if I have. I mean, I brought it with me. I don't know if you have it there.
I don't have it behind me, but
Okay.
it's one of those rare
Photo.
solo rookie cards, right?
Correct. And here I have it here. As you said, it was a pandemic thing because really, and what happened was Ted Ted got elected into the Hall of Fame in January of 2020. So he actually was in that class with Larry Walker and Derek Jeter, I believe. I believe I have that right. And so he did get sort of, I think, snuck in um,
Probably the only
somewhat
veteran. Is he the
unexpectedly.
only veterans guy? Was he the only
He
veterans
was a
committee guy?
veteran.
Maybe.
He was
Yeah.
on the veteran. He was elected from the Veterans Committee, right?
Yeah.
So that caused a lot of people to also scramble and go out and get this card. So you only really had at the time before Simmons, you only had the Blyleven card
Right.
as the only rookie, technically the only Hall of Fame rookie card in the set.
Right.
Now, what that did though is it also, I know for me, I'm speaking for myself, looking at guys like, okay, if Blyleven and Simmons are in, then who's going to be next? Because there are still players from this set that I think still could have a chance of getting into the Hall of Fame that have rookie cards in the 71 top set. And I
Yeah,
was just
we just added Oliva and Cott, right, as well,
there you go. So
right?
so Leva and Cotter are two examples. Now they're not
They're
those
not
aren't
rookies, but
rookies,
yeah,
but
but
but two more Hall of Famers to
right,
add to this already packed set
right.
of Hall of Famers. And then when you add in guys like this, I'm just going to rattle off a few names. You mentioned Dusty Baker, and by
Mm-hmm.
the way, Don Baylor's on that card, who was no slouch either,
Great
right?
player. One of my
So,
favorites, probably my second favorite player, second or third favorite player from the 70s.
but listen to these other names that have rookie cards in the 71 set, okay? And you can put. I'm staring at myself at a big screen, but you can put yourself back if you want. Um,
Oh yeah, I should probably get rid of that. Sorry, man.
That's okay. So hear me out. Ready for these names? And I'm not saying they're going to get into the Hall of Fame, but they've had multi All Star seasons and great careers. Dave Concepcion,
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Grich, George Foster, Al Oliver,
Great.
Dusty Baker.
Yep.
Those are big names.
Jim Cott, maybe something, or not Jim Cott.
I'm sorry, I said
Tommy John, maybe, right?
Tommy
Maybe
John's in that set.
Tommy.
I said Al Oliver, by the way. That's not his rookie card, so I take
Right,
that
right.
back.
But you're
Oliver's
talking
rookie.
rookies, yeah.
Yeah, Oliver's rookie was 69, but I was just mentioning some big names that also had rookie cards in the set. So
Yeah, I mean Dusty Baker, it's a done deal at this point, I would think, right? After the World Series.
I think so. I mean, he
Yeah.
probably would have been in when it was even before the World Series win, but I think he's in now.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. And that'll be one of those, like Fisk the next year had Cecil Cooper. So there's going to be two great players on that card.
Yeah,
Not
that's right.
both Hall of Famers, but Cecil Cooper was a great player.
He's a great player. You're right.
We mentioned Hall of Fame. There are 62 cards with Hall of Famers on it. That includes the batting leaders and the pitching leaders and all that stuff. Oddly enough, there's a lot of leader cards on there where the number one leader isn't necessarily a Hall of Famer in the hitting department. The pitchers are
Yeah, so
great.
that's funny you mentioned that because I
Yeah.
thought of that when I was going through the set because the leader cards, a lot of people really love leader cards. I do. I'm in that category where I
Right.
collect leader cards. I think
Uh-huh.
they're a great way to collect Hall of Fame and superstar names. But the
Right.
71 set actually has just a few cards with power packed star power, right? There's a couple of the pitching leader cards with
Yep.
Gaylord Perry and Tom Seaver and Bob Gibson,
Right.
and then there's Johnny Bench, Tony Perez, Billy Williams in the NL hitting category. So you have some powerful, some power pack cards for the leaders, but others are just sort of, I don't want to say no names, but some one and done type names like Alex Johnson, right?
Yep. And the AL strikeout leaders is Sam McDowell, Mickey Lolich, and Bob Johnson. Now I know McDowell and Lolich, but truth be told, I don't know who Bob Johnson is. But there he is, right?
Yep.
And Frank Howard, I think home runs or
Yeah.
home
Another great player.
AL home
Another
run
really
and
good player.
RBI, right?
Yeah.
Tony Caniglia, there's one right there. The AL RBIs: Frank Howard, Tony Canigliaro, and Boog Powell, which
Nice.
is still great players from the 60s and 70s.
Now, Boog Powell's 71, and we can, I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but just since you mentioned Boog, that is one of the short print, really tough high number cards to get.
I do remember that, Chris. I remember on my hunt, it was one of those ones that was haunting me, and he haunted me in a couple sets. But that was definitely one of them, the 71. I think the decal edge he was teasing me as well. Want to talk about a card here that I can throw you for a curveball. I've talked about this one before. It's the Dick Williams
That's
manager
great.
card,
You're
right?
picking the same cards that I have out already to talk about, so we're already on the same page.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it's an interesting front card. He's the athletics manager. Clearly states that he's at
yeah.
Yankee Stadium, but he's wearing a Dago airbrushed green hat.
Yeah,
And the part that gets me about this, I love the pen. By the way, that's such a manager thing having a pen. Actually, you know what? It's such a modern manager thing because I don't know. I wouldn't imagine Casey Stengel having a pen sticking out of his shirt, right?
right.
Taking notes during a game. But the back of the card bothers me because if they could go to the trouble to have an A's hat on the back of the card, why didn't they do that on the front of the card?
Good point. I never picked
Right?
up on that. That's a really good point
They've
because it's in the
airbrushed.
photo, of course. Yeah,
Yeah. And one thing, if this set had come out recently, I know they just did the heritage on this uh, 2 years ago, but I think a nice variation would have been to switch the front and the back pictures too on some of those. You know what I mean? Like an
yeah.
alternative or a parallel set would be pretty cool.
That would have been cool. That's a great idea. So
Yeah.
while you have the back of the card on there, maybe we should talk about that for a little bit. I This is another great thing I love about the 71 set. There was a very innovative design. This is the first time Topps put photos of the players or the managers in this case on the back of the card as well. So what that did was that kind of expanded their real estate on the card and didn't leave the chance to put lifetime statistics on the back. So that's why in the 70 set, the 71 set, you only see the stats from the 1970 season.
Right. Yeah, it's that's true. And there's one thing I do like about that is they do have that line in there: first year in pro ball, first game in majors, and that's on all the players. I mean, this is a manager card, obviously, but that's a fun little thing as well. Something we see in these days. We're used to seeing that in baseball reference and whatnot, but it's
Right.
that's just one of those little nuggets. It was You're right. It was a pretty innovative set back then for
It
what it
was.
was.
Yeah, and actually, I like the back of the O-Pee-Chee cards even a little bit better than
Yeah,
Topps. It's a little bit brighter yellow, goldish color.
doesn't have the
Um,
green.
doesn't have the green.
Yeah.
I actually don't own any of them, but that's sort of a future project I think I may want to work on is just getting some key players from the O-Pee-Chee set.
Yeah, I mentioned when I had Tom on that 71 there was a lot of stuff going on in 71 with between the supers and all sorts of uh, inserts and stuff like that, sets and all that stuff, which is kind of cool. So 71's got a lot, and they sort of replicated um, the design in various forms. Like the back of the supers are kind of the same as the
Yeah,
back of the
that's
regular
right.
series, and then
Exactly.
uh, some of the other ones, same thing. Some of the other sets mirror the front, and OPG is a great example too.
Yeah.
The fronts look the same, but the backs are yellow and whatnot. So
Yeah.
couple other things, couple little oddball things I noticed about this set. It's really the first time we see the Brewers in uniform.
Yeah.
Um,
Good point.
1970, they had moved and they were all airbrushed. 71 is when we actually have the Milwaukee Brewers in uniform uh, on
Yep.
cards. And I brought up the back of a card too. There, same thing you mentioned with the career stats with the player and stuff like that. So
Perfect.
nice bio. Again, first year in pro ball, first game in majors. I guess you would have to do that. That's probably a byproduct of not putting career stats on there, right? I guess that's
Yeah,
why we had to write
that's
that
right.
out.
It seems like they were just trying to be to supplement, at least to have enough useful information for folks to be able to read the back of the card and still get some decent info out of it.
Because you couldn't look it up on the computer back then, right? You know.
That's right.
And also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is probably the last time that we see the Washington Senators ever.
Right.
72, they moved to the Rangers. Even though we have Rangers and Senators uniforms, including the team card, it's the
Yeah.
last time we see the Senators on a card. They're not the old Senators because the old Senators had
Mhm.
moved to Minnesota, but Washington Senators are gone. Do you have any of those guys laying around?
Yeah. I just figured I'd bring. This is a very high number. This is Danny McLean on the Senators. A
Wow,
rare
look at
look at him
that.
on the Senators, but
Yeah,
this is another tough card to get in the high number series towards the back of the
right.
set.
That's no airbrushing. That's the real deal, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and
Yes.
yeah, Denny McClain, he's modern day scoundrel. I always say that.
Yeah.
He bounced around. Nobody won. You needed to handle him with oven mitts, right?
Right. And here's the Ted manager
Love it.
card.
Yeah, love it. I have I got a beater that I keep near me at all times. I think that that's, as we know, I'll bring this. I'll do the comparison, which is why I say it all the time. I love cantankerous players, but I mean, here's your comparison between 70 and 71, resting bitch face, and then Ted smiling, which is crazy. I don't know how they got Ted smiling, but I think that's one of the geniuses of this set,
Right.
right? Is
So what, you couldn't pick, 1951 Bowman to tape up there? You had to pick 70 and 71 manager cards?
I got the 51 Bowman over there, but
I'm just
but
kidding. I'm just
no,
kidding.
it's I love Ted Williams, and it's those pictures probably were taken at the same time, but one smiling, one not smiling. But
Right.
yeah, Ted, he had a card in 72, right? But
He did with the Rangers.
that's a rare Ted Williams smiling anywhere, let alone on a card,
True.
right? So
True.
you are a Chris, you are a collector of many things, and your collection is pretty brilliant because you don't discriminate between, baseball and football. You've got a great collection of all. Where's this set in your, pantheon of sets? And this again, I'm talking to a collector that collects a lot of different sports and a lot of
Right.
different sets. Where
Right.
where does this rank for
It's
you?
it's not it's number one. I
Number
mean,
one,
yeah, it's like an extension of my family at this point for me. I mean, because I've gotten to know it for so long, and I think I've just grown more fond of it over time because of for a lot of reasons that we already talked about, but also just the challenge of being able to collect it. If you don't want a challenge and you just want to collect an easy set to put together, go buy 83 tops.
yeah,
Which by the way is my favorite set of the 80s. I love the 83 top set, but
uh,
there's a big difference between that and taking on a nice vintage set from that's 50 to 60 years old. And
right,
even some of, I would argue even this is a harder set to complete in high grade than even like 61 tops, because
right,
61 tops baseball is a nice white border. Yes, there are hard cards to get. Yes, there are some expensive ones, of course, but just the challenge that comes with consistently trying to find cards that present really well and look great. And
right.
when you combine the off centering issues, the print marks, print dots, all the things that come with the vintage tops cards. It's a fun challenge. I love it.
Even the backs seem like they were more susceptible to wax or gum stains, right?
Yeah.
They stand out more. It feels like just because they're so dark, the backs of the
Mhm.
cards. It's that's another little nuance that
Right.
doesn't really bother me because that to me is that's a fingerprint on that card of a certain time. Um, and I'm looking right here on TCDB, 8 cards for 10 cents, right?
Yeah.
Uh, you and I didn't quite touch those days, but they got a little more expensive in the late 70s. But still,
Yeah.
that's
I really
crazy,
wish I had the privilege of opening a wax pack from this set. Um,
right?
that would have been, it would be fun to do it today, but that'll
Right?
probably never happen.
Yeah. Well, you never know, right? I mean, these sets like this. I would think that a wax pack of 1971 is more expensive than the wax pack from 1970, just because of the conditioning issues,
Yeah,
right?
the unopened mark or the unopened part of the card community is interesting because there's a lot of nuances with that, and I do dabble in that as well.
Okay.
Although I don't have any unopened material as far back as 71, but there are certain years where it's more rare. It just those that have survived, whether rack packs, cello packs, or wax packs, they tend to be some are hard to come by in certain years
Right.
in the early 70s.
Yeah, it's and now people put them behind plastic, and we're never going
Right.
to
Right.
you know we're never going to get the joy of doing opening that.
So what else you got on your facts about 71 tops? What else you want to talk about?
Pete Rose is playing Creeper in the Chris Short card. I don't know whether you have the Chris Short card, but
I didn't pull that one out. That's a good one. You're right. That is a great one. Great
but
example.
I wanted to look at what I looked at when I talked to old Cooter. It's the 71. Again, the oddball stuff was awesome, and
Yeah.
it's the greatest moments. I think you had tattoos, you had scratch offs, you had
Mhm.
this, that, and the other thing, right? But the greatest moments is one that kind of shares the same design vibe as the
Mhm.
tops regular issue, and That's
Yeah.
something I need a Yaz of, but you rarely see them, right?
Those are hard. Those are
Yeah.
I actually don't own any of those, and I've heard that they're really, really hard to come by, especially in decent grade.
And you don't see them in boxes, right? If you see them,
Right.
it's going to be in a slab
How about these
somewhere.
that came in wax packs too?
Oh,
The
the
coin.
coins. Yeah.
Now remember, Topps put dedicated a card number in their set to this coins checklist.
Oh, did they really? What number
Yeah.
is it?
I think I want to say 161. 161.
Let me fact check you, sir. Oh, there it is. Mine's better than yours because mine
There
has a
you
few of
go.
the
I
has a few
understand.
of this has a few of the boxes checked
I
off.
understand. So anyway, brilliant marketing on Tops to include the coins in there.
Yeah,
The checklist to get you to want to buy all the
that's a great
coins too.
call. This guy had a decent collection. I just have the Yaz, and that went missing for like 20 years. That Yaz coin. I had
Yeah.
it when I moved here,
Uh-huh.
and then when I came out of my hibernation, I tried to find my Yaz coin, and I had no idea where it was. Anyway, it popped up one day, like it
You found
was.
it. There you
Yeah,
go.
well, I didn't find it. It found me because I. It wasn't like I lift something up and there it was. Like all of a
Right.
sudden one day it appeared, like it knew the whole time. So I only have one of those. Do you have any of the coins?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't.
And do we know of any permanent damage these coins cost? Any of these cards? I mean, is that a thing too? Like indentations on the cards? I know there's marble issues from I think it was the 60 leaf set. There's marble indentations on the card.
I haven't heard of that, and I personally have not come across a lot of like indentation marks that physically damage the card out of the pack or out of the factory. I have not seen that. Um, yeah, surface issues generally are not that bad. Honestly, the printing on the 71 tops that I've seen is generally okay. Sometimes the black border bleeds into the card. Sometimes there are your standard, print marks, print dots every once in a while, but
Right.
that's actually one of my least worries from this set is surface issues. Now scratches are going to show up a lot if
Right.
there's neglect and there's a scratch on a card because of not protecting the card. That'll show up pretty clearly, just like anything else. But
So
um,
when you're sliding that one of those cards into a top loader,
mhm.
it's probably a Mission Impossible moment for you, right? Like because you
Yeah,
don't want to ding those things up, man.
in fact, what I started doing is putting some of like my key play, like Hall of Fame players and stuff. I'm just showing a random Phil Negro, but I just started sometimes not even using penny sleeves in the semi rigids, and
Right.
I think they display nice as well.
Yeah.
Um, because I do get a little nervous putting these into penny sleeves.
Do me a favor, hold up 3 cards, random cards. I don't care,
All
and
right,
you don't have to care either. Just hold up 3 cards,
no, I'm going to hold up three.
including that Phil Negro card. Give me
Oh,
that
you
Phil
want the Phil
Negro. Bring
Negro?
that.
Okay,
And who did I see there? Did I see Vita Blue?
yeah,
I don't understand why
I'll hold
Major
up
League.
four.
There you go. I don't understand why Major League Baseball doesn't look at those uniforms and say, "Boy, we really need to get back to that," because that's one of the things I love about this set is the uniforms are absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
You know.
not much we can do about. Are you talking about the teams that exist today? Because
Well,
not much
yeah,
we
like
can do about Expos. But
well,
yeah,
that'd be great though when they do if they do come back. But the Twins are a great example. The Twins just changed their uniforms again slightly, or I don't know, but they're beautiful uniforms, right? That Bly 11, look at that,
yeah.
beautiful road uniforms, beautiful home uniforms. I just don't understand. Maybe it's me, Chris, but I just don't understand like why change just for change sake because they were incredible.
I agree. We do have those retro days where sometimes MLB will have the retro uniforms, but we all love them, right? Those from our generation were like, yeah, keep those, bring those
Right,
back, and keep them.
right.
They're great. Even when like the Nationals went to the Expos to honor the Montreal heritage, I thought that was just brilliant, and they look so good in those uniforms. So you're right. I'm with you, 100%.
Have they the Nationals? I'm sure they have worn Senators uniforms of
Um,
various generations or vintages.
Probably, but I actually don't. I'm not sure.
There's got to be a lot. I mean, there's got to be those uniform. That closet must be gorgeous. Even the straight W that Killebrew wore back in the day
Yeah,
to
exactly.
Walter Johnson, to even the
That's right.
60s and 70s Senators look.
Well, I think, and one thing, and this kind of reminds me to talk about this about the 71 set, is that this is sort of getting to the end of, the vintage era of fashion, uniforms, and just, the like you mentioned, the only player with facial hair in the 71 set is Rich Allen. And that's just the sign of sort of the players still looking like the golden age
Right.
of baseball until
Right.
you get into the 72, 73, 74 set, when all bets are off with fashion too. And
Yeah,
you start
for
to get the
sure.
wild Houston Astros set, uniforms and
Yep.
stuff like that.
And Oscar Gamble, of course.
And Oscar Gamble, who, by the
Yeah.
way, has a great 1971 card.
Yeah, that's one of those ones I say is at Connie Mack Stadium, old
Okay.
time ballpark,
Yeah.
old time uniforms, just a great action shot too, swinging away, right?
Yeah. I was just flipping. I'm looking down because I'm just flipping through some of what I have to see if there's anything else that were noteworthy to talk about. You already showed on the screen some really good cards.
Sorry, man. I apologize. I've a tendency to,
Perfect. No, it was
yeah.
perfect.
I'm always going to slip Reggie in there. That's for sure.
You got to slip the Reggie in. This is another
Yeah.
good one. This is another good one.
Oh, the Gibby. Yeah. That's incredible, right? Who's that on third base? That's not one of the Boyers, is it? Probably not.
Mm, probably not, but
Yeah.
now you got me on who that might be.
I
Maybe,
love
maybe,
that, man. That's
maybe
a
Mike
great
Shannon.
card. Where is that? Is that, do you think that's Shea?
I think it's Shea. That looks like
Okay.
Shea to me. There were a lot
Okay.
of National League cards from this set that were definitely taken in Shea.
He looks like he's taking a running start to throw that ball. Like his one
Doesn't
foot is on the back side of the mound, the back
I think he's just.
slope
I
of the
think he's
mound,
just.
right?
He's eager to throw a high and inside fast one to somebody. That's what it
Yeah,
looks
he's not. Yeah, he's right there.
like.
He's shaking the catcher wants a curveball, and
Yeah.
he's shaking him off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's a great set, man. You done well. Couple things. What are you working on collection wise now? Because you and I haven't spoken in depth about collecting in about a
yeah,
year.
yeah. Good question. So right now I was or have been a set builder for a long time. I've been buying some personal collections of others, some private collections. I'm dabbling a little bit in pre-war.
Okay.
So I bought, but some of it's just a little random. I need to be careful with budget and all that.
Yep.
So I'm trying to pace myself, but I am still working on. I'm really focusing on some high grade Hall of Fame players, vintage, Hall of Fame, and specifically baseball, football. I think football. Not to. I know this is about 71 tops baseball, but part of my collecting journey is also trying to find some undervalued vintage football as well. I think that
Yeah.
that day is coming where we're going to see some increased prices, and I'm trying to grab
Yeah.
up what I can.
It's sneaky because it's not just tops, right? It's Bowman, it's
Yeah,
Philadelphia, it's
Philadelphia has some great cards
yeah.
from the 60s. Yeah,
Yeah, it is a unfortunately you and I spoke about somebody that's going to be part of the series later on that is he's advocating those old football cards a little too much and drumming up interest, which is going to make it difficult for people like you and I. But I've come to appreciate the older football cards for sure. They're
yeah,
just I think I don't know. You're. I trust and value your opinion, but I say that those football sets are done way better than the baseball sets in the 50s and the
I think there's a
60s.
there's a good argument for that. I've
Yeah,
really also enjoyed some of the early 50s Bowman sets. I
yeah,
think the 50,
yeah.
50 to 51 set. I've just some of the artwork, some of the aesthetics of the card design, the simpleness of the paintings of the players. I love them. I just bought again. I know this is about 71 tops, so we're going off subject
It's
for a second.
about collecting, Chris.
It
That's what
is.
this is about.
But I just picked up one of the ones I'm excited about. I just picked up a 51 Bowman autogram, and I just think that's a great
That's
card.
amazing. Browns, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
When did they join the NFL? Do we know? Because they were like a powerhouse in the whatever the AAFC or whatever it was.
Yeah, good question.
But
I
they
might be a little
were,
bit out of my
yeah.
element there, but
How
yeah.
you doing on Jim Brown? I mean, that's somebody you have to be.
Jim Brown, I'm treating like Mickey Mantle. So hear me out. Mantle's hard for me to collect, and I'm a
Uh,
Yankees fan.
right.
But I missed the boat when I should have collected him years ago, and it's hard for me to recover from that. So I'm very
Sure.
strategic and selective about what I buy if I buy a Mantle. Same thing with Jim Brown. So the Jim Brown card that I love, that I have, I only have one. Okay, the only one I have is 64 Philadelphia.
Okay. Is that the one with his car in the back?
That's the one with the car in the back.
Yeah, it's great. All the Browns have a car in
Yeah.
the back, and the speculation is that it's Jim Brown's car. I think, right?
Um,
That's the rumor I heard. It's easy to say that, I guess.
yeah, I just think it's a cool card, and I
Yeah,
also, some of the collectors in our community, I think, also that run in our circles here, they appreciate the art of collecting, the presentation of the cards, and it's not just about value, which I completely agree with and appreciate. So I'm more and more I'm looking for cards that aesthetically look good to me. You
right,
know, some
right,
of them are not even Hall of Fame or well-known players.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of all this is, the 71 tops is a great example of that. There's some great cards. The Vatapinson is a great card, right?
Yeah,
Even though many think that he should be in the Hall of Fame, but it's
yeah, good call.
that
Maybe.
action, that action, uh, instead of the portraits and the poses, that action format just opened up
Yeah,
all a full other realm of possibilities.
that's right.
20 years on into Tops's existence, right? It's
And look at this one. Here's another one I want to show you real quick.
oh
Is this
man,
Ken McMullen? And those are the monuments. Those are the monuments of Yankee Stadium, the old
in
Yankee
the
Stadium,
field, in the outfield,
in the outfield at
and the
about 400,
flagpole.
about 470 feet from home plate.
It's
And there he
amazing,
is
man.
playing third base. But I just think that's such a great perspective
That's gorgeous.
on that
Yeah,
card. And here's,
everything about that.
yeah. And what else is Ken McMullen famous for in the card community? Do we know?
We will in a second. Tell me.
Oh, okay. He's also shared on the card with P. Rose's rookie card, 1962.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Who were the other two guys?
One of them was from the Reds. Was it Al Weiss, maybe?
Really, there were two Reds on there, huh? Interesting.
No, Mets. I said
Oh,
Met. I think
Mets.
I
Okay.
want to say Al Weiss. I'm not sure. And then there's I forgot the fourth one.
That's another thing about the 71, just to wrap it up, is there's 3-player rookie cards, there's 2-player rookie cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had the format, I think 70 was the same way, where we had players from the same team on the 2-player cards, but then they ran out of ideas or ran out of paper stock and they had to
Some,
start putting, 3
yeah. And
players from 3
sometimes
different
Topps
teams.
is really has a sense of humor when they put together their rookie stars, where you've got it's all in the family with the three Reynolds.
That's awesome, man. That's amazing, right? That's what's
And,
great about cards.
and of course, they're not related. So
Right. That's what's great about cards. And I'm glad we got through the 71 without bringing up Lowell Palmer, his card, the Unabomber
I forgot my
card.
sunglasses to put on. Yeah.
So I'm gonna warm your seat up a little bit here. When will somebody like me be able to see content from you again? Is that something? Is your camera back from the repair shop yet, Chris?
So I took a break. For those that don't know, I did have a channel that I started in 2021, and I had a blast. I made about 50 videos, and until about earlier this or last spring of 2022. So I had about 7 months worth of videos that I had put out, and I had to stop for a couple of different reasons. And I don't have a great answer other than that. I have a lot of material I want to do and to
Right.
sort of re-engage with the community on YouTube and kind of restart up my channel. So if you subscribe to my channel, you're not going to see any video content yet, but I promise you that I'll have a lot to show, and I do hope to restart the videos soon.
I love your stuff, but I guess one of the questions that I want to ask you is, do you think that the content creation gets in the way or the joy of your collecting, or do you think it enhances it? There goes my hokey, by the way.
I think it enhances it, but
Okay.
I will also say that I have to find a balance between the rest of my life and not just making. And this is sort of a cautionary thing for everybody. Make a video about what you're passionate about making, right?
Right.
And especially if it's educational for the community, or it's a something that will help collectors make better decisions when they're collecting. I think those are more important. What I'm trying to do less of is I don't want to make it a brag fest
Right.
where I'm just showing a collection just because, hey, look what I have. I
Yep.
think that really serves no purpose, but that's just part of my personal beliefs. So I'm trying
Well,
to figure out
there's
what that balance should be.
Gotcha. There's people to do that, and there's room for it, but I think that
Yeah.
that's wise. I always say education. Myself, no offense to everybody else, but educating myself is my number one priority. And talking to collectors like you helps that. And I appreciate you uh, coming out of retirement to help me. Hopefully, we can. It's not like Minnie Minosa where you pop up every 10 years and
It's more
swing
like
a bat.
Michael Jordan. I think it'll be retiring after the '93 season and then coming back.
Okay, wearing
Trying
a four or
baseball.
five.
Baseball didn't work out, so
Yeah.
I'll go back to basketball. Yeah.
All right, I love that. I'm gonna wrap this up, and you can stay here with me. Again, I like to read from my little papers. Thanks for joining me this week on my journey back in time with Chris from All Time Sports Cards. Says it right there on the screen. If you have a comment or suggestion, drop me a line at that70scardshow@gmail.com, 70s card on Twitter, or that 70s card show on YouTube. Music by Mango Safari on the podcast. Chris, thanks again for stopping by. Enjoy collecting, and more importantly, enjoy your collection. Goodbye, all.